In this presentation, we're going to be looking at some changes we've made to the licensing for the Unity dashboard application. Firstly, let's recap what the current licensing model is. The Unity dashboard is licensed against the MAC address of the host machine that it's running on. So this has always been the way that the dashboard's worked. Part of the thinking with this, when we first developed the product, was that it means that you can have multiple dashboards, a customer that is, could have multiple dashboards, and they could have the same login ID for each dashboard. So if you had one supervisor login, that is a supervisor ID that's assigned as a supervisor of the call centers and BroadSoft, you could use that login across multiple dashboards in a customer's business, and in fact, it's quite typical for a customer to have more than one dashboard. So that was the logic with assigning on the MAC address. What's transpired is we've had a lot of feedback that's a little bit difficult for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's a different way of assigning licenses to all the other products we have, and also it's hard to know what the MAC address is in advance. It's hard for customers to know what it is, and that's been a barrier to provisioning. So in terms of trying to simplify that, we've moved on to licensing based on the user ID, which is the same as what we've got for all the other Unity apps. So that's what we're going to cover today. And let's talk about how we're going to sort of handle this transition. So for a start, the existing customer impact is 0. Anybody that's got a MAC address licensed dashboard now, none of them are going to stop working. They won't notice any difference. There's no things to plan for or allow for there. But what we can do is we can turn on, I'm not going to show this, but I am going to show how to set up some licenses. But one of the things you have to do is here, if you want to toggle to the new user ID-based licensing model, this is at the service provider level in the Unity portal, under customization, as you can see here, you just want to enable this. Okay? When you enable that, it's not going to turn any of the other licenses off. Okay, and so, right. One of the things we've introduced is the ability to get a unique ID, a UUID, that's off the host machine that the dashboard is running on, and basically all that is it's a way of mapping the user to the machine. So what it means is the UUID is just something, it's a unique identifier that's generated based on the hardware profile and the Windows OS setup that's on the machine itself. That's then stored in the Kakapo cloud, and that's how we marry the license up. What it does mean is if the user wants to install Dashboard on a different PC, in the Unity portal, we're going to look at this in just a minute, you just need to go in and clear the UUID, reinstall, and then it'll push another UUID up. So you don't need to do anything, basically. You can only have one dashboard instance, and that UUID has got to be the current one. It's pushed to the Unity cloud. Once you've cleared it in the Unity portal, you don't need to retool anything on the new installation. Okay, so you just install Dashboard on the new PC and it will just work. Okay, and what we're going to do is give you a look at a live demo now. But this is one point is to make is that this is what we spoke about on a previous slide, is that at the moment you can have multiple dashboards licensed on the MAC address with one user. That's not the case anymore. So if you want to have 3 dashboards running for the customer, then you're going to need 3 different user IDs, supervisor user IDs, and you assign, obviously, a dashboard to each one of those. It doesn't mean that they need to, it can be any user in the business, so it doesn't mean they need to be actually doing a supervisor or role or anything like that. It's just basically a user ID that's assigned as a supervisor to one or more of the call centers, depending on what the customer requirement is. And of course, there's no licensing charge to actually do that. So you're not incurring a license charge if you take one of the other hosted PBX seats and make them a supervisor of the call centers. Okay, let's toggle that across now, and we'll come down and I'll just show you in the portal here. So here we are in the Unity portal. I'm looking at the license details for, in this example, Unity Dashboard Graphical 100 Plus. All of the different variants, there's 6 variants for the Unity Dashboard, 3 tabular, 3 graphical, depending on how many agents you want to monitor. That's not changing. Okay, that's all staying the same. Here I am looking at a couple of things. I'm seeing here, I've got a number of Surface devices that have all had Dashboard assigned to them, and then you can see here, this is the new setup. So this is where I've got the 2 Steves have both actually had a dashboard assigned against their user ID. So one of the other things that, of course, you can see straight away is it makes it a lot clearer to actually find out what these devices actually are. Because if you've got a number of, like I've got 3 surfaces here, it's hard to figure out which dashboard is where, again, without going back to the customer and saying, can you open up dashboard and go about, find the MAC address, and then do a search on the MAC address. You don't have to do that anymore because it's Steve Tutt, Steve Wardle, or whatever the case may be. So here we are, Steve Tutt. So if I just view this user, so this is me here. Now, if I go license details, and so this is where we've got all the licenses. As you can see, I've got a graphical 100+. So that's just been assigned like every other Unity license. You can assign that manually in the portal or through the provisioning API or however you're doing it now. So there we go. So I've got the dashboard license here, and here this is where I can clear the unique user ID. So that's what you want to do. You want to hit that, and that's going to disassociate. It's going to clear that UUID out of our cloud, and when this person next reinstalls Unity and logs in with his credentials, it's going to automatically generate another UUID locally, pushing it up to our cloud. You don't need to do anything, and it will work. But if you don't hit clear UUID, it will throw you an error when you first try and install. Okay, that really, in summary, is how the new licensing model works. There's one other thing. If I go back to the provider level, this is where the branding, this is under customization here. Sorry, that's connectivity, that's the wrong place. Customization, this here, if you want to move to the new user-based licensing, you want to enable this. Again, that's not going to turn off any of the old users. You will see all of the users, so all of the MAC addresses still going to be sitting there in the license details tab, and then of course you can manually change those. There's no automation, but you can manually change those from being MAC address based to being user ID based. If you've got any other questions, please reach out to us offline, and we can take you through this. Thanks for joining. Be well. Bye bye.